Paranormal Science Lab, live, and I'm Lisa.
And I'm the Gypsy King Off-White.
Otherwise known as John.
No, I've actually legally changed my name.
That fast?
Mm. Well, you're a lawyer, you did it.
Well, what judge did you put a gun to his head?
I'm not going to say that. No, I'm just going to let that go. There's too many judges around here, and some of them I know.
Yeah, same here. We thank everyone for being with us this evening. We have a very special guest.
Special. Very special.
It's special in a good way, not in John's way.
Shut up, computer.
Oh, he's talking to himself tonight. We're in for a treat.
Just got to have a good conversation somewhere.
Ouch.
Ouch. Ouch.
You may be doing this by yourself then.
Oh, that's good.
Uh-oh. Well, hopefully our guest is willing to put up with our antics. With us tonight is Teal Gray. Hey, Teal.
Hello, how are you?
Pretty well. As good as I can for putting up with Off-White here. So.
Well, I feel a little responsible for the whole Gypsy King thing that happened in my presence, right?
Hey, if it wasn't then, it would have happened eventually.
Yeah. He has embraced his Off-White Gypsy King feel, though, for sure.
Yes, he has. So how are you doing?
Doing terrific. Thank you for having me.
For everybody that doesn't know you very well, just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm an
contestant number one.
Well, hello. I'm an intuitive empath. I read tea leaves, coffee grounds, and of course tarot. I'm a writer, and I travel the world in search of amazing places to bring to people, and it's sort of my passion to find the sacred in the everyday. And so that's one of the books that will be coming out, and that's been, a time coming. I have a book coming out called The Unwritten, which is about my life as an intuitive and growing up in a haunted. I've never been. It's me that's haunted. It's not the houses, I don't think, because it doesn't matter where I go. But I grew up in a haunted house. I've never known anything different, really. And also about my spirit guides. And then the second book coming out is Teal.
Awesome. Well, you do a little bit more than that. Go ahead, plug yourself shamelessly here. What all you do.
Shameless plugs.
I do. I have my own column in the Dallas Entertainment Journal and also Fab Dallas magazine. Both of those are for astrology and colorology and numerology. So I do that. I also travel, do public speaking engagements, lectures. Just got through doing Dash Beardsley's Wake the Dead, and that was awesome. Got to be with some great people there. Next weekend, I'm going to be with Selena Rohn, and we're going to be at Phantom Fest in San Antonio. And besides being with her and taking people, I will have my table there so people can come and get a reading with me. And so I'm looking forward to that. I do psychic fairs in the Metroplex, and so people can come and get readings there, or they can set them up with me online or at one of my offices.
Well, and let's not be shy here. You have your own radio show.
Oh, I do that too.
It's a blind leading the blind tonight.
Did she say the blonde leading the blonde? You're right.
Oh, well.
Blind.
I do. I also have my show, Mysteries. It's on Friday nights from 10 to midnight on 24/7 The Stream. And also have had a long-term one on Blog Talk Radio, so it's very worldwide. So, yeah, it's a lot sometimes. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And, in your spare time, you have children and try to live a life.
Yeah, I have two daughters and two grown daughters, and I have a menagerie of animals that seem to find me. And I spend a fair bit of time feeding the wild animals in the woods behind my house, and so I always feel surrounded by that.
Well, don't you find that animals typically are drawn to sensitives and empaths?
Yeah, I think so. Because they come up with already their conversation started, and I feel like we converse with each other, and it's pretty terrific. I've had them actually lead me to other animals, that needed. There was one time that they just kept on coming back and forth, and I thought, what is going on? And they actually took me out towards the woods, and there was a little mama, a young mother with her kitten, and it was winter, and the weather was turning bad, and so I made a little makeshift house for her and got her settled in that. So sometimes, yeah, it's pretty great.
I'm sorry, I got distracted. I now have a burka next to me.
Yeah, I can't gone full throttle tonight.
The sand is getting in my beard, so
my goodness.
It really does look out your eyes, I have to.
Well, it's because my eyes are the only thing showing. That's why it brings them out.
Yeah.
I tell you, it was interesting. It was terrific being with you guys there in Missouri and also in Kansas, but it was especially interesting being with Off-White there.
I'm kind of off blue right now, but
Blue.
Kind of royal blue.
Yeah.
It fits, though.
Well, it has to fit. It's a turban thingy. I mean,
okay.
It's just a piece of cloth with a rope. I mean, what's not going to fit?
I mean, Lisa, you got to give it to him. It's true.
That's true. That's true. I walked into that one, so I can't.
Yeah, I just realized that my deck bag actually matches my.
See? Yeah.
I just realized that wasn't planned. Mm-hmm.
Actually, it wasn't.
Well, I'm actually sort of happy you didn't plan that, but it is cool that it matches. That's good.
Hey, Teal.
Yeah. And that's another thing I forgot. I'm also soon my own tarot deck will be out.
Oh, what? Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, I want one.
I'll send you one. Absolutely.
I want one.
Yeah, that'd be very cool.
It's being shot on location in New Orleans, and it's the Gray Parade, and of course, the Gray Masquerade, and so that'll be out soon.
And is there a particular what kind of theme is to the deck?
It's a Gray Masquerade. It's going to be sort of a French masquerade theme, sort of vintage shooting and stuff, but all shot on location in New Orleans.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. Very interesting.
It's a little sexy, that deck.
Stop it. Sexy.
Oh, boy. Now he's really excited.
Hey, let me know when you do another deck. There's an artist that I met here locally that I think would make an awesome deck. So
okay,
we'll talk about that offline. But
okay, sounds
very
good.
Cool.
Good.
See, that's so neat. So many different things going on.
Too, yeah, always something.
So, what do you find that you have more connection with spirit on the other side or the living as an empath?
Well, I connect really well with both sides. I'm gregarious. I get along with people really well. But the other side, I've just never known it to be that much different for me. They've always been part of my life. So growing up, it really wasn't one or the other. And I have a really strong connection with animals. And so really the three to me are exactly the same. They're sort of all interwoven. And I spend a lot of time with all of them.
Well, I know some empaths and mediums will really talk about feeling a difference between connecting with living versus those that passed, and so I'm always curious. And you really don't see much difference.
There are a lot of people. There are a lot that have a stronger connection one way or the other. Or I think it's a matter of being empathic, how much you learn to control that, and how you can be in crowds. And for some people, it's overwhelming, and for other people, it's just we've learned how. It's not that it's not overwhelming, but you just learn how to sort of buffer that and move on.
Filter.
Yeah.
CS filter.
A BS filter, yeah. Well, yeah.
It really is a BS filter.
Explain.
A baloney filter. You don't want other people's BS. It's a BS filter.
Okay, we'll have that
Yeah,
from the
you
other
already
side.
still count that.
Oh, those people from the other side, they're so cute.
They're so cute, huh? No BS.
No BS. None whatsoever. Ask my son.
No, they're just very straightforward.
They are very straightforward. I prefer
they
that.
are. I like
Just
that.
more
though.
people were like that.
Yeah, not too many people like that, but the other side, they're very straightforward. They don't have a lot of time to waste. They know what to do. Yeah. And, it is. It's difficult for them. A lot of them, they're at different levels on the other side, just as people are on different levels here. And so it requires a certain amount of energy to interact with you here. And depending on how they're doing that, are they doing that telepathically? Are they doing that by moving something? Are they actually trying to be an apparition you can see? Is it something like that? It just really depends on what they're doing with the energy they expend. But they cut right to the chase, and I like that.
I almost, sometimes it seems like to me that on the other side they lose the sense, I don't want to say they lose a sense of emotion, but for the most part, most aren't concerned with emotion.
Mm-hmm. That's probably true. Maybe I enjoy that because I've spent most of my life in business and in management, so I'm probably a little like that myself, so I'm like, oh, it feels natural. But yeah, they're kind of no nonsense about it. They just shoot you straight.
Exactly. I mean, there are some I think that are wound up in emotion. Particularly if they had a sudden passing or something that probably was very confusing. But for the most part, they don't. There just doesn't seem to be much reaction to questions of emotion and so forth. And
that's true. And a lot of times, I think it also depends. Like you made a perfect point of how did they pass? Did they just recently pass? Is that something that they're still adjusting to? And two, do they know they've passed? Because there's many times that there's people that, there are people that, they always are, but spirit, they're now in spirit, but they have crossed over and they don't always know it. And they really are confused. Sometimes they're angry. Sometimes they're just upset. Or they're so lost in their despair that it's hard to get through to them sometimes. So it really, it's a real gamut of things. I know sometimes recently, you just never know what you're coming up with, but recently I was at a location on an investigation, and I really felt strongly this young man was afraid to cross over, but he was unhappy being trapped in this building. And what it was is there was no phone box there anymore. But I kept seeing him, I couldn't figure out, I kept seeing him on the phone. And I asked them, I said, I just keep seeing him on the phone. And I said that, he killed himself, he was afraid to cross over. And they said, well, actually, there used to be a phone box right in the spot where you're talking about. And the young man was arguing that his girlfriend shot himself. And, they said that's probably what it was. And so I talked to him, and actually he did cross over. And so then, there was no more communication with him all that night. And I think I did disappoint some people a little bit because he was so active and talkative, and then crossed over pretty early on in the evening and stuff. They were so tired. But yeah, so that happens sometimes. He was just trapped, and he was afraid of going to the light because in killing himself, he thought there was going to be this judgment, which I don't believe there is. I think there's only love. And they get essentially the counseling they need. They just need more counseling, more love, and they evolve over there just like we evolve here.
I agree with that. I think that, it's every lifetime is a learning experience. And no matter what happens, I mean, even if you did take your own life, I think you come here to learn a lesson from that, and whatever that lesson may be, to carry on to your next life. Somebody said the other day about, it was a post by one of the pages I follow about energy and how energy can heal. And people said, well, what about, kids that come into this world with cancer? And I said, that's pre-lifetime of this lifetime. So whatever energy they carried with them, that's why. It has nothing to do with the energy, the right now, what energy they are.
Yeah, I agree with that. I agree with that. There, and also if you want to take that a little further, there's also the train of thought that you've made this agreement, with your soul tribe, so to speak, the people that you interact with. Some people more deeply on your lifetimes than others, and so your soul tribe, you make a pact, you make an agreement on the other side before you're born of the part you'll play. And I think that's why sometimes people feel like, gosh, I feel like I've known you forever. You probably have, or certain family members, maybe this time your brother and sister, but maybe last time, you were mother and son, or, I think things interact and change so that you can learn from different perspectives. And also, I do think that people take on different hardships and different trials in their lives to evolve lifetime after lifetime as it goes on. So yeah, I think it's an energy thing that they bring in with them. I agree with that. I think also there's some level of that soul tribe agreement that you make too.
What is your feeling then on different levels of different planes of existence? That's what I'm trying to think of. Do you think that we live multiple dimensions at the same time? Or do you think that we live one dimension and learn and then move on?
Well, I tell you, it's funny. I have to say, I think we live multiple dimensions at the same time. And it boggles my mind, and it's never stopped boggling my mind, and it still does. So I always, when I hear something like past, present, future all at the same time, if you're with me, I'll go, oh my God. It's not that I don't believe it. I do believe it. But it's almost more than your mind can grasp at times, because there's so many parts to that. You've got to think, okay, if I'm living all these multiple existences on these different planes at different times, all at the same time, there's just these multiple needs, then you have to take into consideration where some people say, well, on another dimension, when you're dreaming, then that's actually you living out this other life, or, if you dream about somebody, or there's so many different things you have to take into consideration. I think, well, hey, it's all possible. I think it's all possible because that we know there's many dimensions, and I think that it also, the many dimensions explains why sometimes I think as everything catches up scientifically and our ability to capture with better equipment, better cameras, different things, I think we will sooner rather than later come to realize that in these dimensions, sometimes there's time travel going on, which would be different lives, different times, but, just different dimensions. I think that sometimes that's possible, that we see those people. I think sometimes spirit is just in a different dimension, and then you get into the whole debate of, well, is heaven just another dimension, or is heaven really, very, very high up in the sky? Or, so it's endless, really. I don't know. What do you guys think?
Well, I was just sitting here.
I wanted to go. Go ahead.
I was just thinking as you were saying that, when you're talking about spirit being stuck here, I kind of have to disagree for what we were just talking about. I think there are occasions that spirit doesn't move on simply because it's confused or doesn't understand the state it's in, but I don't think typically that they are stuck or that they can't come back. I think that it's only our perception from our dimension that it's a one-directional thing, that they cross over and that's it. But if there's multi-dimensions existing simultaneously with us having various experiences, I don't think that there's, I think it makes more sense that energy being, what they're crossing over is dimensions, and I think they can travel back and forth in it.
Oh, I agree with that. I think they can come back and forth. I do. I think they can. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's almost a have to be. If you get into talking about spirit guides, I mean, they're not chained to this dimension because we are. They can go back and forth and be able to discuss things further, maybe with even higher spirit. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I think that, I have a theory on doppelgangers about, if you see your doppelganger, you pass, one of the sides passes away. Well, that kind of falls into the time, if you watch a lot of sci-fi like I do, that talks about time travel too. If you can't occupy the same time and space, or one of you dies. So, I have to kind of wonder if a doppelganger isn't actually another dimension that's bled through somehow. And you guys are occupying a similar space and time, and that's why one of them has to go.
It could be. Yeah, it could be, because there can only be one, right?
Right. Well, and there's only one of me. We know that.
Well,
yeah, the other one is off black.
Off black. We're like the balanced
Yin and yang.
Yin and yang of the sheep world.
Right. Then there's off gray, off green, off kilter.
Yeah.
Off kilts.
Off kilts, yeah.
Oh, that's a whole other thing.
A whole other animal.
That's a whole other thing. I like kilts, gotta tell you. I like the Scott.
I have chicken legs. I just don't look right in a kilt.
No, you're just chicken.
No, they're chicken legs.
You're just chicken for a kilt.
That too.
But yeah, no, I think there's multi-dimensions, and I think that there's other beings on those dimensions. I don't think it's just, in fact, I did a show the other night. Some people had questions about angels. There's some confusion. People think that when their loved ones die, they go to heaven. Some people think that they go to heaven and become angels. I personally think angels have never been human. They're their own entities. They're their own thing. I think that people can evolve and become better people, but I don't think they become an angel. They can be like a guardian and a help to you from the other side and help intercede, things like that. But an angel, to me, is an angel. That's something different. But I think there's other beings. In fact, I consulted with somebody not long ago because I had, it was a being, like, I didn't even know what it was. It wasn't an angel. It wasn't anything dark. It was just something I had never run across before. And this person I consulted with was, very knowledgeable about multi-dimensional beings. And her take on it was that as I was out in the universe, when I was asleep, I was out of my body, I was traveling in these other dimensions, and it literally was another being that just came through to say hello, and I didn't engage it, and so it moved on. It wasn't bad, it wasn't good, it just was, and it was just so big. And she said, yeah, it was just a being, and it just was from another planet, another continuum, and so that was that. So I think anything's possible. You have to have an open mind and go with it. Can you prove any of it? You can't prove any of it. You can't prove that when we die, we don't go just unconscious with so much stuff. You can't prove anything. But do I believe there's much more? Yes, I do. But I think it's impossible to prove.
Well, I mean, if you really get down fundamentally, that none of us can really prove that anyone else exists. Our only proof is our own perception. So,
yeah.
I mean, that's why it's just.
What do you mean by anyone? Oh, my perception of you?
Right. You can't prove that I exist. That could be your.
Yeah, but see, off white, she feels solid, but actually she's not solid. She's made up of many moving particles.
That's pretty darn deep.
Yeah, well, now we're getting into quantum physics and quantum mechanics.
I love quantum physics, but it is deep. It may be too deep for off white.
We need Stephen Hawking to moderate.
Right.
No, I need somebody to dumb it down so I understand what the heck you guys are talking about.
No, that's not true. That's not true.
That's not true. I'll vouch for
that. He
that.
likes to hide underneath his veil, but we know better.
Yeah, he likes to play. He likes to play blonde.
Uh-huh. Yeah. For sure.
Why is the mother in Life of Brian coming to image right now?
Oh, boy.
Father was a Roman?
My father was a Roman.
Oh, my.
Yeah, I mean...
Eric said if you were ticklish, we could prove you existed. I am ticklish.
Okay, I just proved that John exists.
He exists. He's there. There.
Either that or it was a mass hallucination.
It's getting hot. Man.
Teal, do you sense remotely?
I do. I really do like to kind of get in the zone and prepare and everything. But I do sense remotely, and I also remote travel remotely. Sure.
Lisa says I remote traveler, but yeah. I don't remember it half the time.
Yes, he does.
I think people have that experience of having encounters with me, which were intentional on my part, to visit them if there was no way I could get there and they were ill or something, and they would, have these interactions and conversations with me that were exactly what I was intending and having with them. So, yeah, I do. Not often, not all the time, probably unconsciously, as I'm told all the time, I do, but, that my aura is so out there that I have to bring it in. But, yeah, I do. Do you guys ever, other than Off-White, Lisa, do you do that?
Yeah, I have, and I've shared dreams with people before.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's interesting. That's rare that I've done that, where I, could actually collaborate with the person and find out if that was so. But that's very interesting, isn't it, when that happens?
Yeah. Now, I've had that experience where I had a dream someone was in it, and you tell them, oh, I had a dream you were in it, and then they'll say, oh, I had a dream last night you were in it, and proceed to tell you, and it was the same dream.
The same dream. That's a really cool / weird thing.
Can't say that's ever happened.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't happen a lot, and and it hasn't happened for quite a while, but it has happened, and with different people, and not necessarily someone that I was real close to or whatever, but just a casual.
Oh, somebody's standing there.
Alive or otherwise?
No, otherwise.
Are you in the Kendrick house?
No, we're in John Weiss.
Oh, John Weiss. Okay.
I've meditated with somebody before and ended up in the same spot.
Oh yeah.
Oh really?
Which was interesting.
That is.
I won't get into details. It was a nude meditation. It wasn't that kind of meditation. It wasn't like some of that Kundalini kinky crap that I've heard about.
Are you sure we're talking about meditation? Or?
Yeah, that's a real thing. That's an absolutely real thing. But it can be very healing for your soul.
It was actually.
I'm not doubting that. I'm just doubting. I'm just wondering whether or not that's what John was really doing.
Oh, well, I'm not saying something didn't go down after the meditation. I'm just saying that that's what happened.
Sounds like John's
confirmed John at all.
Yeah, just nude meditation.
Yeah, we won't try to confirm that with John.
What was it? I saw a sign a while ago that said what? It was. Did you just fall from heaven? And it says, what do you call me, Satan? Let's pick up one.
Terrible pickup.
Well, I guess it depends on what you're looking to pick up.
Did John show her his etchings? My etchings of what, Eric?
I actually had that line served to me when I was quite young. Somebody said, would you like to see my etchings? And I was, I think I was, 17 or something. And I do art, and I'm an artist as well. And so for half a second, I was like, no, you didn't. And then I realized, I was excited for a minute.
He said it's an old 70s pickup line. I'm going to have to look
it up. It is. It was really, yeah.
That was before my time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, how about those Knicks?
Oh,
You may not survive this show.
yeah. No, I tell you, I enjoyed being with you guys when I was there and going on the tour through the house, because the history of those places, I love the history of a place. Now, talk about communication. One of my strangest communications, I think, has been that a building, actually a hotel, a historic hotel, actually came through to me and wanted to talk about. They knew I was coming, and it was true. I was going to be there in a couple of days, and was explaining to me its history and how it felt its history, and the things that went on it, as if the building was its body. And I thought that was really fascinating. And I had, it's not the first time that had happened. And one of the books I'm actually working on is, I Am the Haunted House, and that is the sense that how buildings actually do talk, and they do have a life of their own, and they do carry and feel those emotions, and they sort of live and breathe. I mean, you wouldn't think it, but actually even quite large hotels and buildings and stuff, they do move in the wind. They move, they flex, they whatever. So they do have a life of their own. So just talking about communication, that's probably my most interesting is being contacted by a building.
Well, that's really the premise of Stephen King's The Shining.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess it is. Yeah.
Do you think that being an empath or being a sensitive in general, you bring spirit with you when you do an investigation?
I do. I just have a crowd with me a lot. I really do. In fact, it gets in the way of. I love horses and I love to ride, but I have terrible experiences with it, and I think it's because they get so spooked, with sometimes things that are with me scare them, and so that makes me go off quickly. But yeah, I think so. I think I do bring things with me. I know I do. I try to leave as much, behind, and then when I'm going into a space, I try to come into it clear as possible. But I have my people with me, and they're, some are with me all the time. So I don't think they interfere. They really do stay back, and then I just am interacting with the energy of the place that I'm in. But they're always there, sort of, with me.
So they're more guides, and it's not as if they come through as part of the evidence.
Yeah, no. They're guides. No, they're totally separate. They're guides. And it's for people who do things like that and are empathic or they're intuitive or whatever. They would tell you the same thing, that you become, just like you and John work together a lot. So even if you didn't see him, you would be able to know it was him probably in another room, or if you heard his voice, you don't have to see him to know that's John. And so for me, they give me impressions that a lot of times they would talk to me. So I know who's who anyway. And then, with the new spirits, a lot of the times they're giving me impressions without hearing, but it's very much, you just kind of, I'm able to place who's who.
Like knowing
I've never had my people interfere or even come through at all. Evidence, not even come through or be picked up on anything at all. Yeah.
Do you think that? Do you work with your entourage in a haunted location to try to maybe they can help assist getting information?
I haven't done it that way. I could try it that way and tell them All Flight would like us to give it a go. But I don't. I've just always, tried to come in completely blank slate clear, and just see what I get and see who comes through. And but I'm sure they could. I'm sure they could.
I don't even like to know the history of a location when I go to it. So Lisa knows. She won't even tell me.
Yeah.
So she just lets me walk around and figure it out.
Kind of stumble around, see what he finds. She's usually pretty accurate.
Yeah. What does Teal think about scrying and do it? That's from
I think it works. For some, I think it's a talent like anything else that you have to hone. I think it's a skill. A lot of people call my tea leaf reading scrying. You know, they put that in that realm. And so, yes, I do. I think that most people assume that and put that in the same framework with crystal balls and also with the mirrors and different things. I don't use those. I think they're interesting, but it's just not really one of my tools. But I have had people tell me that, you know, that the scrying is how they would perceive what I would do. So I think if that's your take on it, then I do.
I feel that way. I've seen I work a lot. Very few I've seen a stone that would like completely set off that feel like and they're sure one and it just completely the picture of it threw me into an state, a different level of consciousness. So I think it can help. I do. I mean, I want a big crystal ball just because I want one. I don't really do any scrying.
Yeah. Well, I mean, actually, you know, I've been for years looking for the right one because I think for me, I know it's different for everybody, but for me, things either find me, I think, from another life. I collect antiques, all kinds of things. And sometimes I feel like, one, I just like it, but sometimes I think that used to be mine. I just have that feeling it's just different, you know. And so with the crystal ball, through the years, I've been interested in owning one, but I just haven't found one that spoke to me like it was mine. And I think there's some pieces, because those carry such a large energy, it's going to have to match up with me, and you know, and it'll come if it's meant to be.
Sure.
But
I love that.
Yeah, Dr.
Nice frequency.
Yeah, it does. Dr. Raymond Moody was on my show not long ago, and he, of course, is like the father of all time. You know, he did the psychomantium, which goes back, you know, hundreds and hundreds of years, and he recreated that in his home and uses that with different patients and clients. And they go in a room which is completely dark, and there's just one little, you know, very tiny light just at the base of the chair, just to give you some break in the room, you know. But everything, the room is painted black, and then there's a mirror that hangs, and he puts you in a very comfortable chair, and you just stay in this darkened room and with your thoughts. And then he said it never not work to have people, once they relax. Some people it happens quite quickly. Some people have to relax a little bit. But when they do, they will see, you know, loved one's image, or people who speak to them. Sometimes it's their spirit guides, but usually it's loved ones that have crossed over. And there are times when they have said that not only did they come to them or speak to them through the mirror, but they actually stepped out of it and were in the room. And so that would be, I think, John, that's kind of more what you're talking about. So I think that's something you would probably really love.
I've actually been through, I do a lot of shamanic work. And I have been through a breakdown, and to describe, basically I was picked apart by two ravens and put back together. And it's a healing ceremony. And you actually step away from yourself and see this and watch it happen, basically. And it's pretty interesting, but yeah, kind of along that line. It just throws you into a whole different realm of existence.
Another dimension. You're interacting.
Yeah, it really is another dimension. The energy's higher, it's different. I mean, anybody would know that that's what they're going through. There's no doubt in my mind that that's what it is.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on everybody being? I believe everyone is psychic to an extent, and I think that a lot of times, and I'm pretty sure Lisa thinks the same way, is that society has driven it out of them for the most part, for different reasons. But what are your on that. Do you think that everybody has the ability to be psychic?
Oh, I think everybody's psychic. I think everybody's psychic, and I tell you, everybody's empathic as well. They are.
Sure.
Empathic is nothing more than being empathetic to somebody,
Right.
and it's just on what level. Like, if you see somebody, now this, John, work with me here, okay? If you, as a natural person, saw somebody knock Lisa out of her chair, please don't do it, you would feel like, oh, God, is she okay? You would be empathetic if she was hurt. You would have that feeling for her. And to be empathic is just to be more in touch with other people's emotions, sometimes en masse, depending. I think everybody has that. It's just some people feel, everybody's feeling more than others. And then for being psychic, I think everybody is psychic. I think that just like a musician, some people are natural musicians and they play music by ear, they don't read music. So I think some people it comes a little more naturally too. I think everybody has it in them, but some people may have to work a little harder to hone that talent, to bring that gift out. Everybody's got the gift, but I do agree with you that society and religion, depending on how they were brought up and different things,
They'll say that.
make sure you stuff that down. You know, don't talk about that. That's crazy. That's bad. That's evil. That's whatever, depending on your situation. So, yeah, for some of those people, it takes a lot for them to let that go. And in fact, I've had some, people that are leaders in the field in that kind of research say that the dogma of how people are brought up with just their, religions and different things are the hardest to overcome, that more than anything, for them to let go of that and realize it's okay to even explore a different possibility. And so I think everybody's psychic. I think everybody's empathic. It's just different levels. I do believe that you'll hear more from children on their past lives and things. I don't know, on one of my shows, several times I've had the people from Lifetime Movie Network on for Ghost Inside My Child. And in fact, next week, we are going to do a special. They've never done it before, so I'm really honored. They are going to have 3 of the families of the actual families are going to be on my show. And so we're going to talk to them and talk to the children. And so it's just, something they've not done before. But it's interesting because these kids remember their lives. They remember how they died. They remember more than just coincidence, more than just something where people can say, oh, it's a dream, it's a fantasy. They remember actual details that can be verified. In fact, I think today I posted something about a child who remembered who murdered him and actually took the police. They took it to the police and they found the body of, this child kind of took the police to his murdered body. And but as a lot of them get the heat of, this is just a dream, we're talking like this is not good, it's disruptive, it's whatever. Some people think they just want attention. And the truth is, it's not. They're just so young. They're just telling you the truth. They're just telling you their reality. And I agree with you, John. Yes, it happens that people tell them hush, hush, and so that's something we just stuff down or we put aside. Or I think everybody has it.
I grew up in a pretty open household. So even in an open household, I didn't feel like I was right, and I didn't know what to do with it. It took sobriety and a paranormal group to turn me into the weirdo that I am today.
Well, you're wrong.
To let you free.
Talking about kids and their past lives, I watched my nephew. He does some pretty amazing things. One of the things that cracks me up, though, is if you're familiar with Iron Maiden and their mascot, Eddie, he loves Eddie, right?
Okay.
The big burned, gnarled up creature, right?
Yeah.
But we go to a bookstore and they had a couple of goblins, and he freaks out. So there's something about his past lives, and he can tell us. He knows. He was describing how my sister's dog died, and he never met the dog. The dog died several years before he was born.
Oh wow!
And that's his dog, and he'll tell you it's his dog, and he will tell you where he found her. And he found her by the side of the road after she got hit by a car. That's exactly what happened to her. And he didn't. There's no way he would have known that. It was pretty fascinating to watch their little minds work. So I'm looking forward to the show.
Well, I know that one of my sisters, when she was about 2, started talking in very detail about life basically on her mother's back as a papoose on horseback in a Native American setting. And I guess it really freaked the family out because she hadn't been exposed to Native American culture, even watching it on TV, that they thought we'd give her that. It was in such detail, and she was so young.
Yeah.
That my oldest sister still talks about it, that she can remember it, and how it was so detailed. It just was like someone really telling a story about their life out of this toddler.
That's pretty fascinating.
And I think that's one of the key things. It's not, it is it's real. It's not something that was a dream. It's a different feeling. And I know we've all had those experiences, and so we can understand where they're coming from when they're like, no, it wasn't a dream. This was different. It felt different. It was real. It was like I was reliving something. I was visiting something again. And I think that's really the key. They really are. I really believe it. I had, for some, and I think it depends on your past lives. Different ones, maybe you carry fonder memories of than others, or they were more memorable to your soul's journey, perhaps. But I know for me, there's one that's more particularly kind of more the Old West one. For me, in this lifetime, has always been with me. Just always been like this real thing. Maybe I'm also living that, in the past existence right now. That could be it too. But if it was just a past life, then it was just one that been, stronger with me.
How do you think stories of the Fae and things like that fit into all of this?
I don't know. You're gonna have to tell. I know what you're talking about, but I haven't read it. So. Oh
well, fairies and other spirit beings
like
that are not
fairies and all of that. I have not had any experience with fairies. People seem surprised with that. I don't know what that means. Why? But I haven't. I've not had any experience with it. Although there's people that I really do trust. And they say, oh no, they have these experiences. Their energy is very fast. They're usually the ones they've had experience with are more nature fairies, and I think they've been with us throughout time, and I always think there's a little bit of truth in every legend. Anyway, I think there's a little bit of truth in all of that. I think I don't exclude them because why is there not fairies? And yet there can be angels, or there can be or there can be aliens, or there can be whatever. I mean, why not fairies? So I think so. Sure, I think so.
What? Talk a little bit about what led you to some of these travels that you've been on. You've been going to a lot of spiritual places.
Yeah, I've always been driven to that. I've always been just drawn to the spiritual side of things and the how we connect with that. And I've always thought that we're all connected. I believe we're all connected. I think that what happens to somebody that you do not know on the other side of the world does affect you. You may never meet them, but the things that happen to everybody, to every animal, to every stream, to every, glacier, I think it all interacts and affects us. And so it's just something that's always been with me. And then as part of that, I have my doctorate is theologically based. And so I have a doctorate in alternative health and natural. They used to call it naturology, and now they call it holistic health because so many people waste it that way. So, so within that, I've always had that spiritual kind of guide me, and base curiosity of how we all connect. And then in 2011, I was ordained as a non-denominational faith minister. And it just was kind of a next step for me. It was just kind of a step. And actually, the place that I had my doctorate from contacted me, and it was going to be their first time of ordaining within that group. And so they said that, you should really do this. And so, okay. So I did, and it was a great experience. But I was already on this journey of going, around the world, different countries, different things, and seeking out places that historically were, sacred, or some people would call them mysterious. And, so that was always something I wondered, why is, to some people, why is Stonehenge sacred, or why is this place sacred, and how does that connect, and how is it that we just feel that, you can go to that site, and I've been lucky enough to be inside Stonehenge as the sun was rising with just a handful of other people, because they don't want to let some of the people do that without some of the passes here for that. But it was an amazing feeling because it was no, again, there was, probably 5 or 6 of us there, and it was so quiet, and you just could really get the sense of those stones. And I really could feel people say, gosh, the stones have like a vibration to them. They really have an energy to them that you can sense. And I agree with that. Definitely they did. And, of course, they've proven that. They've brought things out there, but you really can feel that. And so it's just been a kind of a natural drive, just an inner drive in me to do that. And so in the book, my whole hope is that all these different places, when people read the book and they can kind of get the sense of why is even washing the dishes, how on earth is that sacred? Because I don't like to do it. But maybe once you open your mind a little bit and think about, even just the water that you're using so nonchalant, or to wash your dishes, that there's people around the world who don't have water. Or if they have any water, they have to walk miles to bring back a bucket of water. And it's not clean, and it's different. And, we take a lot for granted at times. Sometimes, some people I go too far with it, but I'm grateful even for a hot bath. I know there's people who don't even have a bathtub, much less hot water or running water. So I think that if you kind of expand what you take for granted, then those things become a little more precious. And just like even breaking bread, so to speak, and having a meal with your friends or your family, that's a sacred interaction in the sense that, food has always been a bonding kind of thing across the times and across the ages. And it's just a little thing. It can be something so simple like that. It can just be, something just gathering together. That can be
Teal, I hate to cut this short. We are almost down to the wire, and I want you to be able to tell people how to get a hold of you if they're interested in your show or
readings or whatever.
Okay. Well, probably the easiest thing, if you go to Teal Gray Worldwide on Facebook, you can connect with me there. And also you can go to tealgrayworldwide.com and contact me on that. You can go to hear Paramysteries every Friday night at 10 o'clock on 24/7 The Stream, and reach me there. And I do post on everything, and they're revamping. I also have an online magazine, but you'll be able to go through that through the tealgrayworldwide.com, and they're revamping all that so that you'll be able to click and connect with the magazine and all my different stuff is how to reach me and how to get a reading or come to where I'm at.
Awesome.
And make sure you remember me when those cards come out.
I will, absolutely.
I want to know.
I will. I'll let you know.
Thank you, Teal. We appreciate you being here.
Sure did.
Bye-bye.
And everybody stay tuned for Selena Roan. She'll be with Brandon Callahan on Closer to Death. Have a good night.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.